How did I learn Spanish? Well, it all started way back when I worked at Disney. Well, before that, I had taken a class in high school, just a Spanish 1 class in high school, and then I ended up at Disney. And also my dad, he had a lot of Spanish influence in his life. We never spoke it in the house. I have no connection to Spanish whatsoever in my life growing up until that point. My dad, he kind of introduced me to it a little bit. We would always go to like Mexican restaurants and things like that, just trying like the most ghetto, like craziest looking Mexican places that I didn't even want to go into because they'd be in like a bad area or something. But that's how I started. That's how like the interest was there. So by the time I got to Disney and I worked at Disney, I was kind of familiar with Spanish. And then I realized that everyone at Disney speaks Spanish. A lot of people there, a lot of guests, a lot of workers there, they all spoke Spanish. And that's when I was like, man, this stuff's pretty cool. I started like seeing all the cultures and things at Disney. That's why I love Disney so much, because it really started like this whole crazy thing of traveling and learning languages for me. So Disney is the, you know, this is like, they're like the king. They're the starters of this whole thing here. But anyways, that's where I started. So I started talking to guests. I would just say random stuff to these guests and I wouldn't even like think about it. I would just talk to them, whether it was bad or not. I remember my first really bad experience with someone speaking in Spanish was with a guest from Spain, and I tried to speak to them in Spanish. It was a disaster. They were so rude to me about it. I'm like, I'm just trying to learn your language, sorry. The guy next to me was from the Dominican Republic, and he took over and helped me out, so I'm so happy he was there. And, you know, I was a little discouraged from it, but I didn't let that stop me. That's just people. People everywhere can be rude. It's not a language or anything, so I kept learning Spanish. I kept doing it every day. I would ask my coworkers, just, you know, learning it. And then I would do Duolingo. I completed the whole tree in less than a year. I forgot what my streak was, but I did the whole tree. After that, after I came home from Disney and everything, and I had just started talking to everyone. It became an obsession. I really wanted to learn this language, and I thought it was so cool. And also at Disney, you know, they have the little name tags that have like, it has like the languages they speak, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever, and I wanted one. So I started learning it every day. I worked at a hotel when I got back, and I just, you know, I started going back to college, and I started taking more Spanish classes, doing the flashcards, still talking to people all the time. That was a phase, and then once I graduated community college, I went to Towson. That's when I started really diving into Spanish even more, and like the complexities. I had to have up to like 302 in Spanish to graduate, so that's 6 Spanish classes alone, plus like culture classes that you had to take for my degree just to graduate. So I took all those classes, and then during that time I also studied abroad in Chile and Peru. And that right there, my friends, is how it really sealed the deal. I would say I was already talking in sentences before Chile. It just wasn't that good. My listening was terrible. Even my listening still can be bad depending on where I'm at. I went to Puerto Rico recently, and I don't know why. I could not understand a lot of the Puerto Ricans. But I can understand Peruvians fine. Chileans I had a hard time understanding, but I got better. My listening's gotten better. These are all things that it just takes time to develop and understand. So yeah, studying in Chile and Peru really sealed the deal. And then like after those experiences coming back, and it was still a huge part of my life, I kind of put the textbook away after I felt like I was fluent. So that's like a small mistake I might have made. I should have, and I should to this day still keep like learning new like grammar, new phrases and things like that in Spanish. And I'm gonna actually make a video about that kind of stuff soon. But I like kind of put the textbook away because I felt comfortable. I felt like I had achieved my goal of what I wanted by learning Spanish ever since the Disney days. I just wanted to be like fluent. And everyone has a different vision, a different idea of what fluent means. But for me, fluent just means that I can carry a conversation with virtually anybody, talking about anything, surviving in a whole nother country, XYZ, talking and listening and having a conversation with somebody about virtually anything with no problem. I 100% achieved that. And now, fast forward to today, what really helps me now is actually teaching the language, teaching Spanish. I'm a Spanish 1 teacher now, and that has kept me on my toes quite a bit because it's like, you know, while my Spanish is not perfect, but I can definitely obviously teach, you know, basic Spanish classes. And that's what I've been doing, and that's put me on my feet with like different questions that I get from students. I'm like, oh wow, I never thought about it that way before. And so that's really what's kept me going with Spanish, and that's how I got started learning Spanish, and that's how I learned Spanish. That's basically my journey with it. And up until this point, I feel like it's all just come together now, and I'm like, wow, this learning languages, all this whole thing is like changed my life. It's been an amazing force for me, and it's been like this energy that I have accumulated and that has projected me onto the path that has led me to where I'm at today. So, you know, learning languages really is my life, and I want to continue with that, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do. So that's how I learned Spanish. It all started with a mouse, as they say, at Disney, and then moving on, flashcards. I want to credit learning Spanish to flashcards. Flashcards, these guys right here. Or, hold on. Go to your local bookstore, wherever you're at, and get you a pack of these guys right here. Okay? They have a bunch of different ones. Or they have apps online, but I personally prefer the physical ones because if you have it in your pocket with you, you make like 5 or 6 a day. You can learn a whole lot of vocabulary very fast. And that's how I really developed a lot of vocabulary words. And I'm going to go on new regiments soon with that method. I'm a repetition. That's how I learn. We all have different learning styles. And of course, listening to music, repetition, actually doing things like studying abroad or traveling to those countries. When I went to Peru last summer for 2 months, when I made my documentary, that's in my other videos that you should go check out. A full documentary was one of my goals. That summer was incredible for my Spanish. I felt like I was already developed, and I was having full conversations, traveling completely solo without a group. It was the first time I had done that, and it was absolutely insane for learning Spanish. So I highly recommend all those versions. I mean, like I said, it's learning a language is not going to be done in a day. You might be able to learn some basics where you can travel, but in my opinion, and as well as basically most of the research, I mean, you're not going to be completely fluent. I mean, maybe in like a year or 2 years, you can realistically start speaking pretty good and forming sentences as a realistic human being. If you're not a machine like me learning Spanish, and it's an obsession. So just going slow, learning words daily in a passive way that you're not going to burn yourself out is very important for learning any language. Spanish, English, Russian, whatever. Start with the basics, like start with the top 20 verbs or something, learn those, then go into different vocabulary categories, learn those, and make sure they're all connected and that they're useful. The most useful first, and then start spanning into the less useful stuff. And I'm a firm believer in just getting out there and making mistakes. I still make mistakes all the time with Spanish, and every time I make a mistake, I learn. I learn the correct way. When someone corrects me or whatever happens, you learn. So that's how I learned Spanish. Number one way was by making mistakes, using different apps. Duolingo was a big one for me. Listening to songs, translating lyrics, flashcards, a whole bunch of different methods. There's not going to be one solid method that you learn any language. It's going to be a plethora of different things that will help you learn a language. So, and that's the best way to learn. That's the best way to do it. And of course, the number one way apart from all of that is, of course, traveling to a Spanish-speaking country or whatever language you are learning. And also, you don't even have to, especially if you're from the United States, and you're in a city like Washington, D.C., like where I live, culture everywhere. You can find people that speak Spanish. There's language exchanges online that you can go, and you can go meet new friends at these language exchanges. You just go, you meet people, it's awesome. There's apps for like Hello Talk where you can go and you can talk to people of different cultures, meet them, and you just talk and you practice. So that's it. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Let me know what your experience is learning a language, or if you have anything that you did that helps you learn a language, because I would like to know it too as I go and I teach people how to learn languages. So let me know. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.